Daredevil is in the DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mezco 112 Collective Black Suit Vigilante Daredevil from the Netflix TV show. And as a fan of that show, at least seasons 1 and 2, I haven't seen season 3 yet. I'm super happy to have this figure in my collection because that's season 1 where he's wearing the suit pretty much primarily is one of my favorite seasons of television, period. It's just a great show. And I'm really happy to have this figure, even though it is a little bit under-accessorized and definitely under-articulated. The accessories, can sort of be forgiven because I knew that going in. It's not like I'm surprised that it has few accessories. It just comes with what it was advertised to come with. But it is disappointing to get such an agile, well-trained fighting martial artist style character and have like single jointed elbows. And basically I think this is on the Spock body, the same body as the Joker. But if you can kind of get over articulation issues and it just comes a little under accessorized, I think you can really enjoy this figure. It's really quite nice. I actually do like the body it's on, because the Spock is one of my favorite figures of Mezco of all time, and it's the body that kind of turned me onto the line, although maybe it's feeling a little bit dated at this point. So let's get into this review. And taking a look at the packaging, a real highlight here for me. I've had some Mezco boxes that have let me down lately. Like the Onyx art on the back was really not that great, but this box, I really like the finish on this. You got the shiny logo and sort of the slate backdrop, and then on the back, just look at that art. That is beautiful. This is just a great looking box, and it's the exclusive packaging, so it's definitely like the smaller, more space-saving packaging, which I like very much. Really great. Look at that artwork. All right, taking a look at the sculpt, paint, and detail on this figure, you can see that the mask is textured, like it comes off at first almost from far away, like it looks like this smooth, hard thing, but it's actually got a lot of that woven texture that a piece of fabric would have. And especially as you wrap around to the back, you can get into those details really nicely with that tie. This is a glued on piece that, it's just semi-rigid, sort of soft plastic piece. And then the head is all one piece. It's connected to the neck, so that's one sort of first knock on the articulation. There's no head articulation, just at the base of the neck. But getting into the face, I definitely see a likeness to the actor. It's hard to tell without seeing his eyes and everything else, but for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. There's a little bit of stubble there. A lot of the pictures are coming off washed out because he's all in black, and then when the cameras are adjusting to the black, it's making the face super bright. But as you can see in a little bit darker lighting, it's you can see the stubble there. It's pretty nicely detailed face. Working your way down to the suit, I'm actually going to crank up the light now a little bit here. You can see that there's some red lines over here, and it's not just one solid black suit, so it kind of looks like an athletic shirt like he would be wearing if he were kind of mocking up a fight suit. And then it transitions into this this sort of rubbery material, which is part of the sleeves. It's not like some figures where you have like a plastic forearm. You can see right here that it slides up and down. So it's like over the top. It's a suit that if you were a customizer, you could probably pull it completely off and then put it on to like another figure if you wanted to try to get a custom super articulated Daredevil figure. So moving down into the waist here, I do like the belt and the sculpt of it and all. It looks really nice, but I feel like it rides a little high. What do you think? Does that sit a little high? Like I feel like I keep finding myself wanting to pull it down just a little bit, especially as I start posing him and it rides up. It kind of like goes into like a V up like that, but just messing around with it, you can kind of stretch that shirt down a little bit and get it low where I think it's supposed to be, and maybe bring the pants up a little bit too for that crotch. But getting into the pants, they're more of like a loose canvasy kind of looking material. There's like a zipper pocket that's just like like an overlay detail right there, but it's a nice touch. And then you have the baton holder right here. It's a separate piece that can shift around and move a little bit. Nice leather look to it, and some straps with some texture to them. And then finally coming down to the boots, they almost look like sporting boots, like not necessarily combat boots, but almost like a athletic sort of hunting boot or something else that you might find at Dick's, or like a North Face type thing or something like that. But they look really good, nicely sculpted. And so, there's not a lot of paint to really talk about on this figure. I guess I can take a look at the hands over here. Again, one pretty much solid color black, but there's a little bit of glossiness there on the knuckles versus like a matte finish on the rest of the hands. So looking pretty good. It's a great looking figure. It's just a little bit limited in articulation is all, really, in my opinion. And just one other thing to note, at certain angles, the arm seems a little weird. Somebody had noted in one of the chat groups that the arm just looks very skinny and narrow in certain angles. But as you kind of rotate it around, I think it's just the way the material, as it gets into this slightly stiffer rubbery material, this is the way it sits. It just looks very thin and narrow and not quite natural. The forearm, you'd think the forearm would come out a little bit more right here rather than just like this straight tube. So proportions wise, that's a little bit of an issue right there. And bringing in a couple figures for some size comparisons. So I'm trying to focus here on the other MCU figures from Mezco. So here is Black Panther next to Daredevil. And then here's Spider-Man. I actually don't have the homemade suit Spider-Man out. I think I put it in the box for some reason at one point, so I didn't have it handy right now. And then bringing in Thor over here. And I'm very happy with how the MCU is coming along by Mezco. And finally, I'm just going to, because I think they're on the same body, I'm just going to pull Spock in here so you can get a little bit of a height comparison there to Daredevil. So yeah, looking pretty good next to the rest of the MCU figures. And just real quick, I just want to point out a couple things. So Spock and Daredevil seem to be on the same body. Let me just adjust the camera here. So one of the things that kind of tells me that is the articulation. They have a very similar articulation scheme. And then the other thing is that the heads are basically identical in the way that they look. So if you wanted to do like a black suited Spock figure, you could put the Spock head right on there. And, it kind of fits on there well. And so I'm thinking that this is the same body as the Joker as well. It's just like their standard original Slim Buck, which... they actually have other ones. Like this Spider-Man body is a lot more articulated, but I guess maybe because it's a little bit smaller, it just doesn't fit, but hopefully they'll start doing the bigger, taller, thin guys on a more articulated body. I mean, I've heard that the Gomez figure is large and also on a super articulated body, like more so than what this is. So yeah. And the next segment is going to be super quick because he does not come with many accessories. So he does have this second head sculpt that's actually really cool. It's got blood all over it. It's, it really makes you think of that, those fight scenes where he's just getting pummeled and getting back up over and over again. But there you have, nice bloodied action face. I prefer this one because it just makes me want to put him in a fighting pose. And then he comes with two batons, two billy clubs. They are what they are. That's it. That's his one accessory, really, are these clubs. And, they look fine for what they are, just wooden sticks, really. There's a little bit of a wood, like they're all sort of chipped up and they look like wood, but, not much to them. I wish there was maybe something else he could have come with, but That's pretty much it. And then he comes with fists on him already. And then he's got these 2 gripping hands to hold the billy clubs. And finally, he's got 2 open hands for fighting poses and stuff. And one last item, like all the Mezco figures, he comes with the 5-inch stand. I really like this one. I like how the shiny black background comes through on the on the printing that's got like the speckled sort of like worn out stuff to it. This is one of my favorite stands. I think it's really cool emblem right there. And then it's also got the flight stand for it as well. All right, so for articulation, the head can look down this far and it can look up that far. It's only articulated at the base of the neck. It can rock side to side a little bit, and you can do a few things with it. Not clearly as much as you could do if the head was articulated as well as the neck. It's just it's this old basic figure that they've had since Spock, since the original figure, like I said before. I just wish that they had put this on a newer body, though it's still kind of nice. Like, it does have that premium feel. Like, you articulate those joints and it just feels quality. It feels nice and stiff. He can rotate his arm up this far, which again is not that great. And then he can swivel it all the way around. Plenty of articulation there. There's no real shoulder. There's no like butterfly joint in the shoulder. The elbows are single jointed. And the joint can rotate up about this far. So roughly 90 degrees, maybe slightly less. It's hard to say. I think it's just about exactly 90 degrees on mine. And then there is some rotation at the top of the elbow up there. You can see it's above the elbow that it rotates right there. So there's a little bit of movement there, which actually can help with some of the poses and stuff. And then getting into the wrist itself, the wrist is on a ball and swivel, so you get plenty of rotation. I think maybe the gloves were supposed to be attached to the sleeves. I don't remember. I gotta look at the show again, but it would have been nice if there wasn't the flesh tone showing underneath there, if they were actually attached, or if they had painted those black in there. So that's pretty much it for the arms. Looking at the torso, again, limited articulation. So he can, let me get his arms up and get him crunching here. He can crunch forward that much at the upper torso crunch, and then he can crunch back that much. So not a ton. He can rock side to side with it pretty well. And then he can rotate up there as well a little bit. I wouldn't want to try to rotate him all the way around, though, because it's not perfectly round. And then at the waist, he can crunch a little bit as well. Back and forth this much, and he can rotate and side to side. So, combining those, you get a decent amount, but it's limited. There's better figures. There's better articulation. It would be nice if your fighter could crunch forward a little bit more than that. And then down in the hips, the legs can, let me go with this side. The legs can kick forward about that much. As you rotate them, they can go up even further, so you can kick up that far. But you can see he's rotated out a little bit when he's in that position. The knees are double jointed, so pretty good articulation there. So if you want to get him into like some flying kick poses, it works out pretty well. And there is a swivel at the top of the thigh. And then the boot can kind of swivel a little bit there. Not really functional per se, but there's a little bit. The ankles can rock back this far and then forward that much. And side to side, they can do that much there. And then out a little bit as well. So decent. Standard Mezco ankle articulation, I'd say. Maybe slightly better than most. And they obviously can spin all the way around as well. So yeah, the articulation is pretty limited on this guy. I do wish that it came with double jointed elbows. They would do well too. I mean, I'm pretty sure the other version of this figure, the red suit one, actually does have that. And maybe it's because this shirt is like like a tight shirt that they just didn't want to do that or what. But yeah, I think the red suit Daredevil has the double jointed elbows. It would have been really nice. It would have just added so much to this figure if you could get those elbows just in a little bit more. But I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a great looking figure. It's a great addition. I know that this character version isn't well represented in toys, but I'm happy to have it. Thanks for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos. I just recently reviewed the Mezco Batman Sovereign Knight. If you want to see what a very, very well accessorized figure looks like, take a look at that video. I mean, night and day between these two $80 figures in terms of what they come with. So, you know, this one is very under accessorized. My running theory about the like sort of higher price point, lower accessories with the Marvel figures is that the Marvel license is just a lot more expensive, and they're trying to keep them in that $80 price point and just struggling to do so with what their budget can allow. So anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, may the Force be with you. DorkLair!